Hello everyone, this is Theologate Talks, a mission experience sharing series of the Divine Word Theologate, a formation house of the Divine Word Missionaries in Chicago, Illinois. My name is Quang Pham, and I will be your host for today. Doing ministry is one of the most important elements in our formation as missionaries. There are different kinds of ministry: teaching catechism, visiting the sick, bringing Holy Communion to the sick, serving the soup kitchen, and so on. And among all of those ministry, there is one special ministry program that all of us, Divine Word missionaries, seminarians, and brothers, have the privilege to usually do after our first year of studying theology. This program is called Clinical Pastoral Education, or CPE. We will work as chaplains at hospitals, nursing homes, or other facilities that have the program. And for most of us, this is a challenging but also transforming experience. And today we are going to listen to the experience of one of my confreres who just did his CPE the past summer, Ryan Agbim.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Ryan, for being here. And can you just briefly introduce yourself?
My name is Ryan. Thank you for having me. My name is Ryan Agbim. I'm a second year theologian from New Jersey. Now studying here for, of course, my Master's in Divinity. It's my last year before my cross-cultural training program experience, which I'm very excited for. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So first of all, can you share with us the story of how you got to know the SVD, the Divine Word Missionaries?
Oh yeah. Briefly, it's I didn't know anything about the SVDs before I had made first contact with them. I guess in my junior year of college, I was studying for public health, and I started to get the call, and started to discern whether or not the priesthood was a calling for me. I wanted to be a doctor before. But I listened to to where I believed that God was leading me, and I talked to my family, my mom and my sister, and we started to sort of explore the option of becoming a priest, whether it was through the diocese in my hometown in New Jersey, or or religious life, which actually wasn't on my radar in the beginning, but it's God led me to the SVDs, thankfully. Through Father Adam McDonald, actually, he was my first contact with the SVD. He sort of got my name, he pulled my name out of a magic hat, and he gave me a call one day. It was like August of the year before I graduated from college, and so he had told me about the history of the SVDs and the work that they've done, and how much international they are. I like the aspect of them being a multicultural, intercultural community, which was very new to me and also very intriguing. So I decided to go ahead with the come and see, which is where I spend about 3 to 5 days at the Seminary in Epworth to sort of see if this is something where you see yourself. And I loved what I saw. The people treated me, they welcomed me with open arms. And I've enjoyed my experience, so I decided to apply, and that was in 2018. That was in 2018. So I've been around for 3 years. I'm still a baby in the community.
So you took your first vows in 2019?
And August 2019. Yes, yeah.
So you're among us here now.
I am, yeah.
So as we previously mentioned, you just finished your Clinical Pastoral Education program last summer, right?
Yes.
So can you introduce to us, like, where did you do your program, and what was your major job there?
Oh man, yeah, that was a great experience, the CPE. So I did my CPE in Manhattan, New York, which is really wonderful because, again, I'm close to my home state, New Jersey. So I was able to sort of do the clinical pastoral education experience, and also occasionally see my family, which I haven't seen for a few years. So that was good. In the hospital, I was Lenox Hill Hospital in Upper East Side of Manhattan. It's about a 600 bed hospital. Very small, kind of a small town community there. but they serve people of all, different socioeconomic status. People who are poor off the street, homeless, drug addicts, rich people too, the wealthy. They all go there. So I saw a whole different variety of patients over the course of the summer, which was nice. My post in the hospital was strictly the cardiovascular ICU. That's where I spent most of the time. I handled both of the wings on the 5th floor of that hospital. So I got to know the nursing staff and the rotations. I got to know the doctors, and most importantly, I got to, really hear a lot of interesting hear a lot of stories from people, and sort of listen to them, and that was a wonderful experience. Yeah, thanks.
So just for us to easily visualize your job, so what is your regular schedule is like?
Well, since it's a 400, usually there's about, the beds are about 400 being occupied, 400 beds. So we would start at about 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. We had a really really structured schedule, and we would meet as a team, us chaplains. It was 9 of us. It was 4 Catholic chaplains, 1 Buddhist chaplain, and 4 Jewish rabbinical students. The students studying to be rabbis. So we all had a nice sort of ecumenical group, interreligious group. So yeah, we would we would meet in the mornings, sort of have like a prayer session before we would go out and sort of visit the floors. And before you get to the patients, we have what we call rounds, which is sort of like on the floor of itself. You have the nursing staff and the attending, or the main physician, or the main doctor. They sort of go through the patient list, and they go through the patient census, so that we all have an idea of who needs what, what's being done for this person and that person. And for me, I'm not a medical student at all, so a lot of words and acronyms went over my head, So I'm just there. I felt like a fly on the wall in the beginning, but you start to pick up on things, and you learn that this person maybe is in a critical state. So as a chaplain, you're looking for those kinds of things where it's an opportunity for you to go to that person who could potentially need to talk to a chaplain. And in the beginning, you kind of think that you get turned away a lot, but people were very receptive on my floor, at least. I guess when you're dealing with the heart, you're really in a very vulnerable position. Yeah. So I had a lot of people that were that were open to talking with the chaplain. So yeah, we would do that. We would have what we call didactic sessions, which is sort of a reflective moment for the whole group to circle back and reflect on our experiences through the sharing of what we call verbatims, which is it's sort of like an experience you have that was notable for you, that it sort of challenged you or affirmed something that you did. So yeah, it was, the whole summer was just that. It was very well structured. We had a great supervisor, which is very important. She was a rabbi, actually, too. She was really insightful supervisor. She really guided us through, and I would, if I had to go back to that hospital, I definitely would, because it was the people, the environment there was very nice. We had this motto of everyone. We are a student of everyone in the hospital. Our patients are our teachers. That was sort of the motto. Yeah. So.
That's very interesting. So as you said, you are not at all a medical student or a medical related person, right? So what is before you went for that program, did you have any kind of expectations or fear about hospital environment?
Well, yeah, even though I wasn't a medical student, I was in my early college years for undergraduate. I was studying to be in medical school. So, in a way, I was very excited for that, because I was going to get my hospital experience that I chose not to do in the course of college. But it was I wasn't really experiencing fears, really. I was really looking forward to, because I like to talk to people, and I'm super extroverted. Some might know. So I was really excited to get on there on the floors and talk to people, and listen to their stories. So my expectations was just that this would really be an opportunity for me to exercise, and really sharpen my skills of listening, active listening to people, because you have to really, hear what they say with and sort of empathize with what they're saying, you know. And so that was sort of, my expectations weren't the highest, you know. It was just I just knew that it was gonna be a very maturing experience, you know, for me. Yes, yeah.
So, did all of your expectations being fulfilled as something helpful for you?
Yeah, I fulfilled and exceeded. Yeah, my expectations were
exceeded. Oh,
yeah,
very
yeah,
good.
exceeded. I mean, because I didn't set the bar so high. I wasn't, you know, but yeah, it was definitely exceeded. I think every single patient that I had the pleasure of being with, you know, taught me something new. You know, so I really felt like I learned. That's where the growing happened, was one-on-one, you know, with the patient. So that was, I knew that was going to happen, but the depth of what I learned was what exceeded my expectations, you know. Yeah.
That sounds like a very good experience for you.
Oh, yeah.
But did you ever encounter some kind of challenges or difficulties that that exceeds your expectations?
Yeah, dealing with death, you know, death and the dying, you know. That's always the scariest thing to deal with when you're a chaplain. And I think that one of the difficult things for me was when their family is involved. You know, especially if you don't know, you know, what's going to happen. What's the patient has a poor prognosis, and the husband or the wife or the kids, the grandkids, you know, they're all in the room, and you know, they all expect, you know, so a lot of them are waiting for a miracle to happen, and you know, you want to console them in some way, but you know, and be sort of realistic and optimistic at the same time. That was a bit of a challenge, you know, definitely when the family is involved. It's different, and you can have a lot of different different angles, you know, different, I guess, attitudes in the family, because maybe this person wants to take the person off of life support, or the other person wants to, you know, keep doing the treatment, or there's so many different things and disagreements that could happen that just, it's like family politics, you know, and you have to sort of navigate that as a chaplain. And you know, a lot of times it's not just the patient that you're chaplaining to, you have to be a chaplain for the family members as well. So that's something to keep, that's why it can be difficult, because if you just focus on the patient, you might be missing a chance to, you know, to be a chaplain to the other people in the room, you know. So, but that was difficult.
Yeah, I'm sure, because I also did my clinical pastoral education before. So yeah, surely death is one of the most challenging things for us to deal with.
For sure.
Yeah. So as we mentioned way in the beginning, the clinical pastoral education is one of the most special thing that we do here as in the formation of the Divine Word Missionaries. So from your experience, can you tell if this experience at the hospital helped you in your vocations journey?
Oh yeah, it did. It did. I think what I was really pleased with the most was, you know, the ability to, well, because, you know, we spend so much time studying and working on, you know, learning about theology, and you really need to have that practical experience, because it allows you to sort of reflect on what you've learned and see, well, what works and what doesn't work. And you know, you sort of, when you get out in the field, that's really where, you know, you really learn. You know, you learn in a different way than you do when you're reading your theological books. You know, Carl Rahner can only teach you so much. But once you're in the hospital, once you're in the field, you learn a lot. You learn a lot about just reality. You know, it's right in your face. There's no choice, which I appreciate the most. So in the future, you know, future ministry, it's you know, one thing to take away is to know who you're with. You know, and to be a listener. That's the main important thing as a minister. You know, you have to be able to be a listener, and that's probably the number one, you know, characteristic. And people will pick up on that. They know if you're truly listening to what they're saying or not. You know, they can tell if you're being two-faced or putting on a facade or something.
Did the COVID pandemic affected your ministry at the hospital at all?
Yeah, it sure did. Luckily for us, we the year prior to us being there, that was when COVID was really, really heavy, and you know, we heard like horror stories of, you know, refrigerator trucks and things like that. So that was a difficult time for those chaplains that were there. That was, you know, I definitely empathize with them. For us, you know, we had some less cases of COVID, but it was still, we still had cases, you know, every day. and we have precautions for that. But I would say that the main thing that changed the most was, in terms of providing pastoral care, the whole thing about touch. Touch, you can't really, because of COVID precautions, you can't hold someone's hand, or who might want to hold your hand, or if you do, you might have to put on like 3 gloves, to do that, which is, that's not the same. You don't get that same feeling. And touch is, it's been studied before. It's really effective for providing that sense of that compassionate, care. So that was one thing that was missing. But we made do with what we had to do with the precautions. The hospital policies were loosening. People were allowed to have more and more visitors as time went on, as the cases went down. So that was good. Of course, the family, they can hold hands and things like that. So they can sort of fill in the gaps too for us in that regard. So COVID, we got the better end of the deal with COVID for sure. If we were there the last year, that would be a different experience totally.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Just one side question: do you remember one instance, or the one most memorable patient that you have encountered?
Oh yeah, my favorite guy, man. I won't mention his name, of course, HIPAA. I'm bound by HIPAA.
Exactly.
Yes, there was one man. He was about in his mid-60s. He was my longest patient. He had been there almost. I was there for about 3 months. He was there for about two months. Maybe even a little bit longer. So the thing about him was that he suffered from developmental issues. He developmentally challenged, I guess you would say. Maybe that's the word. So he was in his 60s, but emotionally he had the capacity of like a child, maybe an 8-year-old. So if you presented him with anything that sounded like bad news, he would just burst out in tears and just really, really hysterical. And the doctors really had to figure this out too. Because when you're a doctor, you have to deliver those the news, kind of, and it's sometimes not so good news. So his case was very. It started out as being very tough because of his emotions and things like that. But once we built a rapport, we actually became really, really good. You could say good friends. In that role. His specific problem, he came in the hospital for swelling. I'm on the cardiac floor, so there was a problem with his body. He had a lot of retaining of water, so he had a big belly and swollen legs and everything. So I'm not a doctor. I didn't know what was going on, but apparently he had a heart failure. He was suffering from congestive heart failure. So his prognosis wasn't the greatest, but he doesn't understand that. So the hardest thing about that was towards the end of our time together in the hospital. He was put on temporarily dialysis. So I guess they needed to change the blood or do something with his blood. And he was really poor in health. Really, really, really poor in health. And he didn't know that he was going to be going to the hospice care. He actually thought he was going to rehabilitation. Because the whole time from the beginning when I first met him, he really wanted to go to rehab, but it was hard because I know he's going to go to hospice, and I know that he might only have maybe a year or so to live, and he doesn't understand that at all. He really didn't know. So I'm sitting there with this knowledge that he's most likely going to die soon, but he doesn't understand that. And the last moment I had was very difficult, because I knew it was our last time together, and from then you don't know what's going to happen to him. To this day I don't know, how he is, if he's still hanging in there. But just that feeling, that was really difficult, just because, the whole developmental challenge that he was dealing with, just trying to tiptoe around that thing, but sort of respect him as a person. Yeah, that was hard. That was definitely hard. That was the most memorable. But he was a really, really good friend. Very faithful guy too. Very, very faithful. He would always ask for those Christian, those prayer cards. He would always ask me for those prayer cards, and great man.
Yeah, it's always a hard feeling that we know something that the patient doesn't know, huh?
That's really tough.
Yeah. And so the last question to wrap up our talk today, like everyone who've been here, what do you want to say to those who are preparing for the clinical pastoral education, or those who are still hesitating to participating in a program in the hospital environment?
Oh, well, well, I won't lie. I mean, well, not all programs are the same, but it's going to be a lot of hard work. It's going to be a lot of, the scheduling is going to be, it can be crazy. A lot of people had, they get the pager, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like 2 a.m. and then you have to go to the hospital. So, of course, be prepared for all that. It's not going to be the easiest thing. But you understand that, the benefits that you gain each day that you spend with patients, it's really going to stretch you. It's really going to stretch you spiritually, because not only the time you spent with the patients is important, but the time you spent with your fellow chaplains. You guys really form a community, and you guys really reflect. You help each other to reflect and process what you're going through. And that experience is really, really important, because you're going to take that with you, that idea of, how can community help, to get me out of a hard place, that aspect of that. So there's so many good things that you can get from that experience, from your fellow chaplains, your supervisor. Of course, the patients themselves have so much to teach you. Yeah, I would say, be excited. Be aware of the hardships you will face. I'm not going to lie about that. But at the end of the day, you're going to come out a much mature person. So, if you want to be a better person, then that's it's a quick way to do.
We learn the hard way.
You learn the hard way. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Ryan, for being here. We truly appreciate the profound experience that you've shared with us.
Sure.
I'm sure that many people will get to know more about the clinical pastoral education through our conversation today.
Sure.
And may God continue to bless you and keep you in His loving care.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you very much for watching our show today. Please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting content at youtube.com/DWT Chicago. May God continue to bless you and your loved one, and I will see you in the next episode.